Thanks for tuning in. In the last devotion, we saw that Israel had come out of Egypt. They had been thrust out by the Egyptians with the last plague, and then Pharaoh had changed his mind, and now they were in a state of panic because they saw the armies of Egypt, had them pinned against the Red Sea, and the Lord said, I will fight for you, only be silent. Now, picking up from there in verse 15, it says, the Lord said to Moses, why do you cry to me? Tell the people of Israel to go forward. Lift up your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it, that the people of Israel may go through the sea on dry ground. And I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they shall go in after them, and I will get glory over Pharaoh and all his hosts, his chariots, and his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gotten glory over Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. Now think about it. 1 minute they're in a state of panic, and now God's saying, why are you crying? Can't you trust my promises? Now, he tells them, you're going to go right through the midst of the Red Sea, and I'm going to gain glory over Pharaoh, over the Egyptians, and all of their tyranny. Now, we need to remember that when we're faced with these circumstances that seem overwhelming, that we are not slaves, not slaves to sin, but we're the sons of God. And even though we don't understand how God's going to solve all the problems that we face, we can trust him. We can trust his integrity. And this is why he says, why do you cry to me? Trust me. Don't be in despair. Believe me. He said, I'm going to harden their hearts, and they will be destroyed. All of the chariots, all of the armies. You see, I can't remember the passage right now. He says, some men trust in chariots, but I will trust in the Lord. So this is our remembrance. It's not what we can do and what we can accomplish. It's not the might of men, but the mighty hand of God working on our behalf. And he continues, then the angel of God, who was going before the host of Israel, moved and went behind them. And the pillar of cloud moved from before them and stood behind them, coming between the host of the of Egypt and the host of Israel. And there was the cloud and the darkness, and it lit up the night without one coming near all night. God was with them. The pillar of fire at night, the pillar of the cloud, to show them exactly where to go, but to be a reminder that he was present. And so the angel of the Lord is now standing between Israel and Egypt. So important for us to remember that as believers, as those who have been born by the Spirit of God and have his life in us, that we're never alone. He's always with us. He is our protection against the adversary. Is there an adversary? Is there an enemy? Sure there is. Does Satan, does the devil, the demons, do they want to distract us and tempt us? Absolutely. But we're never left to our own resources. Why? Because he lives in us, and he stands between us and the enemy as our protection. And then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord drove the sea back by a strong east wind all night and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided, and the people of Israel went into the midst of the sea on dry ground. Now, people ask me, well, do you really believe that? You believe in miracles? Well, of course I believe in miracles. You don't have to look for some kind of human explanation about what the story is about. God as creator can do all kinds of miracles. Could he cause an east wind come that would split the Red Sea? Absolutely. That's the God that I believe in. I don't need a human explanation for what he calls to be a miracle. And he says, and the waters were being a wall to them on the right hand and on their left. The Egyptians pursued and went in after them into the midst of the sea, all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And in the morning watch, the Lord in the pillar of fire and of cloud looked down on the Egyptian forces and threw the Egyptian forces into a panic, clogging their chariot wheels so that they drove heavily. And the Egyptians said, let us flee from before Israel, for the Lord fights for them against the Egyptians. Well, that's exactly what God promised to do. He says, I'll fight for you, only you be silent. Trust me, I'm there. I'm fighting on your behalf. I remember many years ago reading an article on, archaeology, and they've actually found chariot wheels in the Red Sea. And man, you sit there going, they're exactly from the same era. You say, oh, you can't believe that. No, I believe it, even when my senses can't verify it, because that's what faith is really all about. The Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand over the sea that the water may come back upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. So Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its normal course when the morning appeared. And as the Egyptians fled into it, the Lord threw the Egyptians into the midst of the sea. The waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen of all the host of Pharaoh that had followed them into the sea. Not one of them remained. But the people of Israel walked on dry ground through the sea, the waters being a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. And thus the Lord saved Israel that day from the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. Israel saw the great power that the Lord used against the Egyptians. So the people feared the Lord, and they believed in the Lord and his servant Moses. So finally, the Egyptians are in Israel's past. God has brought his judgment, his wrath, if you will, upon the tyranny of Egypt. He had destroyed them as a power to enslave his people. And now his people have even more evidence of who he is, how powerful he is. It said he saved them that day. So you might be thinking, well, can God save me today? Well, absolutely, he will save you. He sent Jesus to the cross for that very purpose, to save you from the tyranny, the slavery of sin. He became what we were, sinners, so that we might receive and become righteous. All that he is. This is the promise that we have in him. He saves us. He forgives us, and he pours out his love to us that we might walk by faith to believe him, to fear him. Remember, to fear the Lord is not to be afraid that he's out to get me. To fear the Lord is to have great reverence that he alone is Lord, he alone is God, and worthy of my obedience. I hope you have a great day, and you'll remember he's with you. He's there to protect you from the enemy, and he saves. Have a great day.